as a special.
The O'Reilly Factor is on tonight. An American is killed by hostile fire in Afghanistan. Is that situation over there getting worse rather than better? We'll hear both sides. The feds now say airport screeners don't have to be educated, so why do we need the feds at the airport then? Senator Kay Bailey Hutchison will explain. And Pat Buchanan playing the race card in a big way. He'll be here. Caution, you're about to enter a no-spin zone. Factor begins in 90 seconds.
Fox News Live, I'm Kiran Chetri. One of our Special Forces soldiers was killed in action in Afghanistan. Green Beret Sergeant First Class Nathan Ross Chapman of San Antonio is the first American soldier to be killed by enemy fire since the fighting started there. That battle took place in the area of Khost near the border with Pakistan.
There was an exchange of small arms fire that this American serviceman was doing his job. That he was out for the purpose of working with and coordinating with tribal leaders in that area.
A CIA agent was also injured in that ambush. Afghanistan's foreign minister says that Taliban leader Mohammed Omar is surrounded in the southern Afghan city of Baghran. U.S. Central Command says it knows that Taliban forces are there, but not whether Omar is among them. Troops searching house to house looking for that Taliban leader are still working on that. And more violence in the Middle East. Israeli forces killed a Palestinian gunman and arrested 2 others in a West Bank raid. Also, Israeli dock workers seized a ship reportedly smuggling 50 tons of weapons to the Palestinians. Yasser Arafat and the Palestinian Authority deny any knowledge of that shipment. That is our update. We'll be back again coming up at the bottom of the hour. I'm Kiran Chetri. The O'Reilly Factor is next.
Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. Bad news from the war front is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. Although the Bush administration is putting a happy face on it, things have begun to go south in Afghanistan. Special Forces soldier was killed today. Warlords are stealing food intended for starving civilians. Mullah Omar continues to be protected by Afghan tribes. And Osama bin Laden could be on a Caribbean cruise for all we know. Things are not good. So some tough decisions are going to have to be made. Number one, it's quite clear that the new Afghan government is a joke outside of Kabul. It has no law enforcement power, and the bandits pretty much do what they want to do, and that includes stealing humanitarian aid. The only force powerful enough to keep those warlords in line is the Allied military, which thus far has stayed out of internal Afghan affairs. If order is to be restored to that country, American and British forces will have to do it. Number two, Mullah Omar is simply thumbing his nose at America. He and his thug followers have bought protection, so they just sit there. The U.S. military does not know who's protecting Omar at this point, then we have a colossal intelligence failure on our hands. Something has to be done with this Omar guy and fast, because the rest of Afghanistan is watching the situation. Number three, hundreds, perhaps thousands of hardcore al-Qaeda fighters have been allowed to escape to Pakistan, and bin Laden is likely among this group. The U.S. is trying to avert a war between Pakistan and India right now, so our leverage with the Pakistani government has declined drastically. The Bush administration must convince India to back off for the time being anyway, so the Allied forces can track down the terrorists. In the end, Pakistan has brought most of this on itself by supporting violent terrorist groups. But now isn't the time to spank Pakistan, because we need that country to crack down on al-Qaeda. Finally, America has to get tougher. The bombing worked, the mopping up is not working. We know who the bad guys are inside of Afghanistan. We must remove them, or that government over there has no chance to survive. And that's a memo. Now for the top story tonight, 2 other points of view on the war front. Joining us from Washington is Fox News military analyst General Paul Vallely. And here in the studio, Fox News foreign affairs analyst Mansour Ijaz. All right, am I making mistakes here in my analysis?
Not a single one that I've heard so far. The Pakistanis have brought a lot of this on themselves, but this was the absolute wrong time for India to try and buttress its forces in Kashmir. And they did it. The most important thing people need to understand is that they did it for political reasons. Vajpayee has some very important, Indian Prime Minister Vajpayee has some very important state elections coming up in about a month. And if he were to lose power in those elections, the state elections, he could lose his government.
All right, so he's saber-rattlings, and hopefully he'll get his local guys elected. But let's turn our attention to U.S. Intelligence. Come on. Omar? They know where Omar is. They have to know where he is, do they not?
Well, they may not know precisely pinpoint, but they certainly know who the people are that are surrounding him and protecting him.
Right?
And for me, the money game is what this is all about. The Afghan warlords are playing the worst game that they've ever played in protecting guys in their own backyard because they don't want to create more trouble with these guys than it's worth, because the Arab money and the Gulf money continues to flow into Afghanistan.
All right, so Omar is buying protection. Do you agree with that, General?
Well, I don't know whether he's buying it, but that's the way they do business over there. So, Bill, we have to be very tough in this regard right now. And we can't let this thing be drawn out. It's not negative over there. We're not going south, Bill, but we are having a frustrating period of time right now. And that's why it's tough on the ground to clean this mess up and all these remnants. And I said earlier, you remember when we started this way back at the beginning of the war, you just can't do it by air. That's why the ground forces have to be tough. They have to search and destroy, and they've got to clean up that darn battlefield.
All right, but General, look, you're in charge. You know, I'm watching Franks today, you know, in his press conference, and he's smiling and he's happy and all. And I'm going, what are you happy about, General Franks? I mean, I'm not happy about this. Mullah Omar sitting there in the middle of Afghanistan someplace. If the United States doesn't know exactly where he is, I consider that a colossal failure of intelligence. Am I wrong?
Well, there's a gap in intelligence over there, and it really surprises me that no one's dropped a dime on these two guys sooner, that we can't pick out which house he's in or which village he's in. I can't understand that as well. So we've got to really clean up that area over there, get the best intelligence we can, and move on with it.
So you'd move big troops, ground troops, into those areas?
Well, I'll tell you what, if I wouldn't give more than 24 hours for this surrender ultimatum. Either they surrender or we're going to send in forces, and then we're going to take them out, and we have to make that clear.
All right, Mr. Ejaz, you wouldn't send in.
I don't think that's the way to do it, because we cannot put American troops at risk in a place that they don't fully understand.
They're already at risk.
Well, but there are not that many of them at risk, General.
There's quite a few.
But the point here is that the way to do this more intelligently, in my judgment, is to ensure that we have people who know how the payoff system works down there, who are inside intelligence agents that we've already got on the ground, have been there for a long time, speak Pashto, have the capacity to use the existing channels that are already being used to bribe them.
Exactly. You'd outbribe them.
Exactly.
So why do we need these warlords, though? Why don't we? We have the power to take these warlords out.
We have to make sure that we get Mullah Omar and bin Laden for only one reason.
No, I know that. But why do we have to deal with these thugs? Why don't we just remove these thugs and arrest them and let other people run these things?
If we knew who the thugs really were.
Oh, they know who these chieftains are. I mean, their names are all over the New York Times.
The warlords change their positions on a daily basis, Bill.
Well, you change your position once and you're arrested. How's that? General?
Well, what I would do, Bill, if I was over there right now, two things we're trying to do, I know. Number one, we're trying to let the Afghans pursue their own destiny here and give them some responsibility.
That's crazy.
At the same time, we're trying to get them to do the job, and it's very frustrating for our people. And if we go in there and we try to do it all, then we're going to get criticized for that.
Let's be honest here. Hold on. I'll give you. You guys can finish it off. Let's be honest here. If we're going to let the Afghans control their own destiny, you're going to have absolute apocalypse now in that country. It's run by gangsters. Gangsters are why the Taliban took over in the first place. These are people who put a gun to the head, steal the rice going to little children. If we're going to let them control their own destiny, we're finished, General. We're done.
No, we're not, Bill. There's some good people over there. They're well-educated people in some regard. They're not a bunch of gangsters. You're seeing that on the faces that we see every day over there. But we've got to support them and help them in pursuing their own destiny. Not that they can do it on their own. They can't. They need the support of the multinational force.
Let me give Mr. Ejaz the last word here.
Every single step of the way in this conflict, money is the only thing that these guys listen to. In Bonn, when they started getting ornery, money is what forced them out. We said, if you don't make this work, we're not going to put any economic aid and development aid in rebuilding Afghanistan. We have to do the exact same thing now. Karzai is coming to Washington in February, and before he gets here, he needs to have his ears pulled. He needs to make sure that those defense ministers and deputy defense ministers that were former warlords understand that there is no value in allowing Mullah Omar or bin Laden or any al-Qaeda members to be harbored there any longer. And if they don't stop, that we're prepared to go in and root them out with
Well, we got
much
to
more
make a
force
couple
than
of
we've ever done.
examples now, I think. But who knows? All right, gentlemen, thanks very much. We appreciate both your points of view. Next, did you know that most of the food the United Nations gets to help the Afghans comes from America? So what do the other Muslim countries give? Oh, wait till you hear this. Back in a moment.
Rearrange the living room? Dust behind that chest? How about move that king-size bed? Better get some moving men. No, not those moving men. These moving men. Introducing the moving men. The furniture sliders that make moving even the largest furniture child's play. Just slip a moving man under each leg, and even the heaviest piece slides along effortlessly. Each moving man is made of a highly polished polymer and fitted with a special grip pad for the legs to rest on. Even this loaded bookcase practically floats along. These men can hardly budge this armoire, yet this 90-pound woman can slide it clear across the room. We place this wooden freight skid on 4 moving men with these heavy cinder blocks. It slides along like magic. This couple rearranged their living room in just a few minutes. They even used it to move that big screen TV. And now you don't have to bother your friends just to clean behind the bed. Sliding furniture without the moving men can bunch up and even damage expensive carpeting. The moving men are guaranteed. If they're not the best helpers you've ever had, send them back for a full refund. You get a set of 4 moving men for just $19.99. And if you call right now, we'll double your order. That's 8 moving men for less than $10 a set. But that's not all. We'll also include 8 mini movers. Put them under the washer and dryer, or anything you frequently move for cleaning. Watch, here's one more incredible demo. It could take you hours to move your entertainment system. But why take it apart when you can move it all at once? Order now and get it all. That's 8 jumbo moving men and the 8 mini movers for just $19.99. So stop straining your back and let the moving men professionally move that heavy furniture. Call now.
To order the amazing moving men for only $19.99 plus shipping, have your credit card ready and call 1-800-842-0463 or send check or money order to the address on your screen. Call now.
The Impact segment tonight, food for thought. As we mentioned, some Afghan warlords are stealing food intended for starving civilians over there. And according to the United Nations World Food Program, the USA donates 60% of the food that reaches Afghanistan. Western Europe and Japan give the rest. So where are the Muslim nations? Joining us now from Washington is a spokesperson for the UN Food Program, Khalid Mansour. So, no Muslim nations helping out, giving food to the poor Afghan civilians?
And it's really sad. We think that the Muslim and Arab nations should pitch in and provide lots of the support that's currently needed in Afghanistan.
Yeah, how come they're not? How come they haven't?
What happened so far that some of these nations, countries like Kuwait or Saudi Arabia, have been providing direct aid through local non-governmental organizations into Afghanistan, but not at the level or not in the quantities that we would like them to provide, either directly or through
Kuwait,
us.
Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, all of these are members of the United Nations, correct?
Indeed they are.
And how much money have they given you and how much food have they given the United Nations thus far?
Well, the World Food Program is a voluntary organization.
Okay, but how much have they given you?
Well, so far we have received nothing from these countries you mentioned.
All right, nothing. Now, isn't that a disgrace?
Well, it's a sad state of affair, but on the other hand, we have to acknowledge what the United States, Western Europe, and Japan have done so far.
That's great. But I'm not understanding why Muslims aren't helping other Muslims, starving children and women, why these very wealthy oil potentates aren't helping. Can you explain that to me?
Well, I can't speak on their behalf. What I can say that we have been appealing to them for the past few months to support our efforts in Afghanistan. We are still $35 million short for our program, and we hope that they will pitch in.
This guy, I mean, really, it's really disgraceful. Now, we read in the paper today that some of your food convoys from Pakistan, and I understand you go over there about once a month, Mr. Mansour, from Pakistan into Afghanistan are being hijacked by warlords and the food's being stolen. Why don't you hire armed security to bring that food in?
Firstly, because these are isolated incidents and the quantities involved are less than 0.01% of the huge quantity of food that we are bringing into Afghanistan.
So you don't believe it's a problem then?
I don't think it's a big problem. We take all these allegations and incidents very seriously, we and our donors and the NGOs we work with.
Yeah, because there was a pretty pitiful report today in the New York Times. We have starving people fighting among themselves because they don't have any rice, and this warlord in eastern Afghanistan picking off 60% of the trucks that went in. You know, I mean, I don't know. I believe you that it's maybe not that big a problem, but it would seem to me you should hire some guys to go along with, you know, to make sure nothing is stolen.
Well, what we prefer to do in Afghanistan as well as in other countries, and we don't work in nice countries, we work in the toughest spots in the world. What we prefer to have is protection by the communities themselves. People own the program. We are not really intervening. We work.
Why? Why the touchy-feely stuff? I mean, why not just hire some people, security people, to come in? Why the touchy-feely stuff? Just hire them, get the food to the people who need it.
Well, there's always the fact that it's easier to get shot at when you have a gun, sometimes. Right. Secondly, we have been working in Afghanistan for years, and so far the incidents we are talking about are isolated. In the last 3 months, we provided 200,000 tons of food, and the tons that have been stolen at gunpoint are in the low hundreds.
You know what? You know what bothers me and a lot of Americans, Mr. Mansour? We did the same thing, and you guys did the same thing in Somalia in the early 90s, feeding the starving people there. And we were, you know, American soldiers were slaughtered to try to help these people. There doesn't seem to me to be gratitude on the part of many in the third world about the United Nations efforts, the USA's efforts, Western Europe's efforts to try to help them. Am I wrong?
We have to make the same distinction that the U.S. administration and President Bush made. This war, any other war, is not against the women, children, and civilian men in these countries. The current war, for example, is against terrorism. We have to stay the course and show to the Afghan people that we are going to help the civilians.
But let's talk about the Somali people. The warlords slaughtered some of your people, okay? They killed United Nations people. There wasn't an uprising of the Somalis against the warlords in that country. In fact, the Somali civilians helped slaughter American soldiers in Mogadishu. And, I mean, you know, there's going to come a point where enough's enough. You see what I'm saying?
I see what you are saying, but I think, again, that we have to work with good people in these countries. We have to work with the civilians there, because in the long term, working with them would ensure the stability of these countries, would ensure that these countries will again become stable and not be safe havens for terrorism.
Where does that happen? All right, let's take Africa. What country in Africa, after all of the billions of dollars of aid the United Nations and the USA has given it, what one country in Africa has improved? One. Give me one.
Well, you don't only look at how much improvement
Give me one, Mr. Mansour, in a whole continent. Give me one African country that's improved because of all the UN and USA humanitarian aid. Give me one.
Well, first, Bill, you have to look at the hundreds of thousands of people that would have died had we not, and the United States had not supported aid efforts in countries like Ethiopia, Eritrea, Zaire, Burundi, Rwanda. I can give you a very long list.
Sure, we've saved individual lives,
but also at how much lives we save.
We have saved individual lives, Mr. Mansour, but I'm telling you, these countries don't appreciate it at the level of power where it could make a difference for many millions of people. We appreciate your fine work, Mr. Mansour. Thanks for coming in tonight. Next on the rundown, a federal flip-flop on airline security. And later on, Pat Buchanan playing the race card in his new book. Back in a moment.
You can slow down investing. You can stop investing entirely. But you can't stop daughters from falling in love.
Hi, Daddy.
Which is why your Morgan Stanley financial advisor will never let you lose sight of what you're investing for.
Your eyes need nutrition as well as the rest of your body. So Centrum and Centrum Silver added lutein to help maintain your precious sight. Now your eyes, your toes, and everything in between are covered by Centrum and Centrum Silver. More complete from A to Zinc.
As a boy, he witnessed a tragic crime. As a man, he must turn in his own father. Tom Sizemore, Richard Jenkins, Ving Rhames. Sins of the Father. Premieres January 6th on FX.
It's the newest sporting event to come to the coast, the Crustacean Classics in Lincoln City. Place your bets and enjoy some of the finest seafood, wine, and artwork the Northwest has to offer. January 18, 19, and 20. The newest festival to hit the Oregon coast, the crab and oyster races at the factory stores at Lincoln City. Enjoy activities for the entire family. For times and race rates, call 1-800-452-2151 or visit our website. It's an event you won't want to miss.
Hi, I'm Rick from Empire Glass. Let Empire Glass replace your cracked windshield and will now pay up to $100 of your comprehensive insurance deductible. And will now give you 24 free dinners to Sherry's, the Northwest's #1 family restaurant and bakery, with any windshield replacement. So for the highest in quality windshields, including up to $100 off your comprehensive deductible and 24 free dinners to Sherry's, call Empire Glass today at 251-9881. When you think glass, think Empire.
In the Unresolved Problem segment tonight, it is still a major pain for most Americans to go to the airport. Long, slow, and sometimes incredibly frustrating security lines usually await. The government is slapping a new tax on all airline tickets to help pay for federalized security. But now we learn that educational standards for screeners are not going to be updated. No high school diploma required. Joining us now from Dallas is Senator Kay Bailey Hutchison, a Republican from Texas. So this is disappointing news to many Americans. They wanted to have more intelligent screeners, people with better judgment skills, and now we find out, hey, you know, if you can get there, we'll hire you.
Well, I hope that's not the case, Bill, and I have talked to the Undersecretary of Transportation about that. I don't think it's going to be the norm that you will have non-high school graduates. In fact, I think there will be college graduates.
You get 25% now of the screeners in American airports don't have a high school diploma. Wouldn't you say that's a pretty sad situation? 25%?
Yes, I would say that's sad, and I don't expect that to be the case once the transition period has gone, once we've gone through the transition
But what's the
period.
downside of the federal government saying, okay, now we're in charge, we're federalizing that. That means you get benefits now, good, nice federal benefits, which very lucrative. Lots of people would love to have them. You have to have a high school diploma or a GED. We'll give you a year to get it. We have to have one. What's the downside to that?
Well, we put in the law a high school diploma only if there is a mitigating circumstance would they look to a work record, and particularly in the transition time. But I don't expect that to be the norm, and I will be the first one to be critical if I thought that were going to be the norm.
But why don't you just put it in there? Do you have to have a high school diploma to work as a screener at a U.S. airport?
Well, your idea is a good one to say if you don't have one, but you have the work experience, you have a year to get one. I don't think that's a bad idea at all.
Why don't we just do that? Because, look, here's the problem, and all Americans are faced by it. Poor judgment. It's terrible judgment. You're standing there in lines, and you're watching these people. And listen, I fly a lot, and I'm appalled at a lot of these screeners and how dumb they are. They're just stupid. Not all of them, but enough to make the lines much longer than they have to be. And if the federal government's going to take it over and my tax money is going to pay their salary, I want some level of proficiency, Senator. I don't think that's too much to ask.
It is not too much to ask, and I think you will find that. We have clear standards. You have to pass a test. You have to have many more hours of training, 60 hours of training plus 40 hours in the classroom. We've never had anything like that before. In fact, it will be more than any other screeners in the world. We have proficiency requirements for hearing, for vision, for intelligence, for judgment. There will be tests, and I think you will see the standards
When are you going to
increase.
start giving these people a test? Well, because you guys take over in February. I mean, it's a transitionary period, but, you know, the feds are going to... When are the tests going to start?
Well, first of all, everyone hired new will have to meet these new tests. We'll have to take the test, take the training.
Okay, so you're going to have like a federal exam, and if you defunct the test, you can't be a screener. That's a good start. Okay. When does that start?
Well, that starts in February. Well, it starts right now. Anyone hired now is going to have to pass those tests. And we are giving preference to veterans, and of course, they're seeking people laid off from the aviation industry.
Yeah, and law enforcement, people who are retired, you know, people like that. I mean, let's start to get this in motion. Now, What's the responsibility of the airline industry itself, which has really mucked this thing up from the very beginning? What are their responsibility here? You're charging us another $10 a ticket. Everybody flying is going to have to pay this tax.
Well,
I'm willing to pay it. I'm willing to pay it. But what about the airlines? What are they going to do? Don't they have any responsibility? Don't they have a responsibility, for example, Senator, to build more security places?
Yes, the airlines are going to continue to put the same amount in that they have been putting into security. They are going to do that. That is part of the agreement that was made. But it's not going to be $10. In most cases, if it's a direct flight, it'll be $250 per
segment.
way.
Yeah, but if you change planes, it's another $250, and you got to come back home, Senator, so do the math. It's about $10.
Well,
and for the business travel, but look, nobody cares. Everybody's willing to do it. But we don't want to be standing in a security line for an hour and a half. That's absurd, and that's going to ruin the American airline industry. It's going to ruin it.
Once we get everything in the process and we're used to the system, you're not going to have hour-and-a-half waits. Nobody wants that, and it would kill the aviation industry.
It already is, because they're developing teleconferencing now. This is in a fast-track way. All of these high-tech companies sense a weakness in the airlines now. They're going to do teleconferencing. They're going to do everything they can. And America's just going to say, all right, I'm not going to go. I got a 3-year-old. I'm not going to keep that 3-year-old in a line for an hour and a half. I know it's happening, Senator. The whole airline industry is going to go down a chute unless the federal government can get the security thing under control. I'll give you the last word.
And that is exactly what we are trying to do. And it is going to require a transition period. I hope that people will be patient. But we expect improvement. We expect improvement as of January the 18th, as of February when the federal government takes over the airport security. We expect every week to have more improvements.
All right. Well, we'll have you back in 3 months, and I'm gonna have to do a lot of flying in the next 3 months. So
I will too.
All right, Senator.
I'm a test case. I fly every week.
Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year, Bill.
Plenty more ahead as the Factor moves along this evening. Chaos on the Mexican border, as there is so much crime the judge can't handle it. And Pat Buchanan playing the race card.
Johnson, execute these orders to be split.
Strangely, many online brokers still route most of their orders the long way, through trading desks, market makers, or other middlemen. Daytech Online, however, has created powerful technology that bypasses many of the old obstacles. Are you getting the fastest possible execution of your online order? Daytech, built to trade.
This holiday season, the compact Presario 5000 TPC will come bearing gifts, like a free color printer, a $50 instant rebate, and free shipping. Not to mention a powerful Intel Pentium 4 processor and Microsoft Windows XP Home Edition, all for just $849. And you don't even need to travel afar. Call 1-800-332-1780 to buy now. You'll get 1 great PC and 3 great gifts.
This weekend, it's live coverage of America at War. First, Brian Kilmeade and Juliette Huddy have late-breaking news of overnight events. Then Tony Snow and our Team Washington have insight and analysis from our nation's capital. Plus, Rick Bobaum and Diane Diamond bring you updates and live reports from the field. It's live coverage of America at War.
Well, tonight, automakers may have put the brakes on 0% financing, but we'll show you the new way dealers are hoping to drive up sales. That's tonight on Your World.
In the second unresolved problem segment tonight, chaos on the Mexican border with U.S. authorities cracking down because of terrorism. Criminal cases are mounting and fast, but the feds have not moved any more judges down there. Joining us from San Antonio, Texas, is U.S. District Judge Edge Prado, who has been working border cases for 18 years. So, Judge, what are you up against down there?
Well, things are out of control on the border as far as the caseload's concerned. Congress and the President have increased law enforcement, Border Patrol agents, FBI agents, U.S. attorneys, prosecutors, but the trickle-down effect to the courts has been forgotten. So we haven't gotten additional resources to help the courts or the marshals who are in charge of the prisoners. So we find ourselves with 4 or 5 times more cases than we had several years ago, and no increased judges.
That's unbelievable. So what are you doing about it? I mean, you've got hundreds of cases before you. How do you expedite those cases, Judge?
Well, your last year, your typical federal judge had about 75 criminal cases. The judges on the border from San Diego to Brownsville, Texas, we average about 450 each last year. And unfortunately, you start finding ways to take shortcuts to shorten the situation, find other courts that will handle some of the workload off of us.
But isn't it true that serious criminals, people carrying weight drugs into the United States, are oftentimes getting off almost scot-free down there?
Well, unfortunately, plea bargaining, our sentences are lesser than they would be otherwise in an effort to try to get some of these people to enter pleas of guilty. If all these people were to ask for trials, Bill, we would never.
You couldn't do it. So the risk-reward now for smuggling drugs, and you know, I mean, look, the illegal alien thing, unless they put the military on the border, you're always going to have to deal with that, Judge. The Border Patrol can't handle it. The military could stop it, but the federal government has no will to do that. But the narcotics trafficking, that's another thing, because you guys are sending, deporting people back there, drug couriers, and they're just coming back 2 weeks later, correct?
Not only drug carriers, Bill, but we also have people who've been convicted of murder, rape, assaults, robberies, illegal aliens who have been convicted in state or federal court. They serve their time, they're then deported, and they turn right around, and here you have an ex-convict illegal alien bringing in drugs. And we get swamped. I have to go out to El Paso to help out there, and in one of my visits to El Paso, I might have as many as 80 or 90 cases setting one day.
Can you give the sentence that these people deserve? Is there enough prison space to house them?
That is also a problem. We're running out of housing for many of these prisoners that are being detained. Some of them are over 100 miles from the courthouse. So the marshals have to get up at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, drive to the jails to bring these people so they can have them there in court in time for the judge to start his court.
Unbelievable. Now, isn't the solution to this, Judge, and we've been saying this on The Factor for years, to put the military on the border? That would discourage, anyway, this mass of crime coming across, because, as I said, even if caught, the punishment oftentimes is not that hard, and it's worth the risk. Wouldn't you rather see the military there to discourage this chaos, to help the Border Patrol?
Well, that might be one of the solutions. Our concern right now is if it's going to turn into a criminal offense, if it's going to be a case filed in court, it puts a big burden on us right now, and we're just overworked, and we can't handle the mass amount of cases that are being brought to us on a weekly basis by law enforcement.
And the criminals know that, correct?
Oh, yes, and they take advantage of it. They play the system. They know the judge doesn't have time for their trials. They try to get the best deal they can, and oftentimes puts us in a situation of having to give a reduced sentence
to a dangerous person,
in an effort to try to get him to plead out his case.
To a dangerous person. You're giving a reduced, and the lawyers are making a fortune down there, the defense lawyers, correct?
Oh, yes. Those lawyers are getting quite a bit of cases.
You bet.
There.
All right, more chaos on the Mexican border. No will from the federal government to help you, Judge. We respect you as a patriot and keep up the good work down there. And say the same thing to all your other compatriots down there, because we respect the judges. We know you're trying to do the best you can.
Thank you.
I hope you get some help. When we come back, Pat Buchanan sees the future, and it is not good news for Western civilization. And then a hockey dad charged with killing another father at a practice for their kids. A trial underway. We'll have those reports as The Factor continues for you.
Fox News Live, I'm Kiran Chetri. In Afghanistan at this hour, special forces continue their search for the second most wanted man in the world, Taliban leader Mullah Mohammed Omar. Fox News correspondent Mike Tobin is in Kandahar with the very latest.
The intelligence chief for Kandahar province, Haji Gololai, says Mullah Muhammad Omar has left Helmand province. Golalai also says that Omar is injured and cannot walk on his own. Golalai will not give up information as far as where Mullah Muhammad Omar is located right now, but the information he has provided sharply counters the speculation that a surrender of Mullah Omar could be included in an agreement to surrender the town of Baghran. Anti-Taliban forces are negotiating for the surrender of a Taliban pocket of resistance dug into 3 districts around the city of Baghran in Helmand province. The deputy governor of Helmand province tells Fox News thousands of Taliban fighters are dug into the mountains there along with al-Qaeda soldiers. They have functioning communications equipment and heavy weapons. They could put up a fierce fight. Anti-Taliban Afghan forces say they have surrounded the 3 districts and are positioned there with U.S. Special Forces and Special Operations soldiers. In Kandahar, Mike Tobin, Fox News.
And that is our update for now. We'll be back again coming up at the top of the hour. I'm Kieran Gentry. The O'Reilly Factor continues next right here on Fox News.
Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, that's our loan package. Any questions?
Applying for a second mortgage to consolidate bills doesn't have to be difficult or time-consuming.
Excuse us.
Just log on or call ditech.com and apply for a second mortgage with a no closing cost option. It's fast and easy.
Oh, lost another loan to Ditech.
Apply online or call us now at 1-800-71-FIXED.
If this is what you sometimes call breakfast, remember one thing. You are what you eat. So next time, try something good. Nutri-Grain. With whole grain oats, real fruit, and calcium. Nutri-Grain. Respect yourself in the morning.
Fox Monday. Boston Public returns with the biggest events of the season.
His execution is scheduled for Thursday.
A student from Winslow? A principal stands torn between his obligation to a student.
Think you could have kept him off death row?
And his feelings as a father.
Did he torture your daughter? I'd ask that you not give him redemption.
This is as powerful as television gets.
Why do you want me by your side? Because I don't want to die alone.
An all-new Boston Public, Fox Monday.
He killed my father, he killed my brother, and both my sisters. Pancreatic cancer killed them all. We don't know how or why they got it, but we knew it, and it was already too late. There still isn't any way to detect it early or to treat it effectively. But we do know the cure, research. Just look how far we've come with other diseases.
Next, staying with us, Bill O'Reilly in a personal story segment tonight, a new book called The Death of the West, How Mass Immigration, Depopulation, and a Dying Faith Are Killing Our Culture and Our Country. With us now is the book's author, the always timid Pat Buchanan. You're causing trouble again, aren't you?
No, I'm not, Bill.
Yes, you are.
A scholarly volume. And
you know, you're going to get accused of playing a race card here. You're going to get accused of being a racist guy who doesn't want immigration in the United States and don't want diversity and pluralism. That's what's going to happen.
But you and I know that's a lot of garbage, don't we?
Well, I don't know if I know it, but
Have you read the book?
I have read some of it, yes.
Uh-huh.
And your basic thesis is that the population of the third world is exploding, whereas the population of what you call European people is going down. So
Well,
it's only a matter of time.
Well, it is only a matter of time. All first world nations are dying. Japan's dying ahead of any other. Median age is 41 in Japan, oldest in the world. Not a single European country is reproducing itself in terms of children, except for one. Muslim Albania. The United States, the problem is different. The problem is what you talked about. It is mass immigration across our border, which I think is la reconquista, as I said in my chapter, the recapture of the American Southwest by Mexicans for Mexico culturally and socially.
All right, but what I don't understand, and maybe you have an insight into this that I can't glean, in my book, The No Spin Zone, I have a chapter with John McCain, a conservative senator, a Republican. And I basically say to him, look, your state is in chaos. Arizona is in chaos. Terrible education system, money drained off on the border, crime like crazy down there. Yet you, Senator McCain, will not call for the military to help you out. And why? And there's no reason. Do you have a reason?
Sure, there are 4 reasons. 1, corporations want more cheap labor. Secondly, the churches want to fill up their empty pews. Third, the unions want to put people into service unions. They're losing union people left and right. Fourth, there are Hispanic votes or the swing vote in California, Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. You take a Bill O'Reilly stand, and you're in a tight race in those 4 states, and you lose, because you know what they say? O'Reilly's playing the race card.
No, but I say you can do the immigration thing orderly. You can have the guest worker program. Just put the onus on Mexico to organize it, and we'll take the workers that we need to fill out the ranks.
Look, we had 2 million folks of Hispanic descent in the country in 1960. You got 35 million now. It's a wide open border. They're coming in. They come into these communities. The problem, they work hard. They're good people. What it is, though, they believe in Mexico. They're loyal to their own country.
I don't believe that. I really don't. I think most Americans' loyalty lies with America. But I don't understand why the federal government won't organize and control the mass chaos down at the border when they could.
Look, if the federal government did what I've recommended for 10 years and what you've been recommending and put troops on the border, the federal government would be called xenophobic. Daschle would say, you guys basically don't like Mexicans. That's why you're doing this. The swing vote, which is very big now, the Hispanic vote in these swing states would go to the Democrats the way the black vote.
It's going to the Democrats anyway.
Well, it's starting to go. Bush lost it 2-1. He loses the African American vote.
He lost New Mexico. Bush never thought he would lose New Mexico. He lost the state. It's going anyway.
Let me tell you something. The Republicans are committing suicide. They don't know it. First-time voters who are Hispanics in the United States went 15-1 for Clinton. Clinton carried every state but one with the largest immigrant vote. Of the states that have the fewest immigrants, Bush carried every single one, all 10 of them. Republicans are politically correct. They can't stand up to the charge of xenophobia or racism, whatever it is. So they fall back, and as a consequence of this, the future is going to belong to the Democratic Party, because these poor folks coming in, when they become citizens, they vote for government programs.
Now, I can't argue with any of that, but I'm trying to try to institute some fairness here, all right? And I'm saying that you can, maybe I'm naive here, but I think most Hispanic Americans would support a guest worker program done in an organized fashion, that they would support the military on the border. If you explain to them, we're not trying to keep you out, we're just trying to keep the system efficient so there isn't mass crime, drug smuggling, and everything else.
Look, I agree with that. I don't know if they will or not, but let me ask you this. What do you do about the 8 to 11 million people in this country right now who are illegal? 250,000 have been ordered deported. They've disappeared. That is the problem in America. That led to September 11th.
That's right. I mean, you have to. The INS has to start enforcing the law.
All right. Human Events took a poll of 17 conservatives, liberals. How many of you, if you knew...
Conservative liberals?
Conservative and liberals.
Oh, and liberals.
And Biden was in there, and Barr was in there, and they said, listen, if someone is in this country, broke into the country illegal, and is here illegally, would you deport him? 15 out of 17 wouldn't even answer the question and say, yes, we'd have to deport him.
So what we're seeing now is gutless politicians is what you're saying. They're putting their own careers ahead of the good of the country.
You're exactly right, and they're going to lose the country.
All right. Now, when you say they're going to lose the country, to you, a conservative, having Democrats in power is losing the country.
Look, I don't care that much about politics. What I see down the road is the balkanization of America, like what's happening in Europe. Spain and Italy are the oldest countries in the world, and you've got tremendous problems because Islamic folks are poor. They're coming in and filling up the jobs that are going to be taken. And all this is happening in what I see is a great clash of civilizations inside the Western nations themselves.
But you also have the power and the money concentrated with the white, Anglo-European, whatever you want to say. That's where the money and power is concentrated. That's not going to change anytime soon.
Bill, that's irrelevant. You mean Europe had the money and the power and their empires collapsed. Soviet Union's the strongest nation on earth, or one of them. Soviet Empire collapsed. This is about culture. It's about civilization. It's about will, faith, population. The Islamic world is so much weaker than we are in every category except for one. It has faith. Faith leads to the growth of families. I mean, look at the Palestinians. There are 4 million Palestinians under Israeli rule today. There will be 9 million under Israeli rule in 2025. There will be 15 million on the West Bank, Gaza, and inside Israel. 10 million...
So what's the solution?
It is what we call a terminal struggle. What happened to the white South Africans? What happened to the Rhodesians?
White South Africans were brutal thugs. I mean, everybody wanted them out of there.
But, Bill, let me tell you something. What is coming, I believe, for Western civilization is we have certain values, beliefs, convictions, and these folks, many folks or minorities in our country, don't share them because they're in the minority to go along with it. When they become in the majority in Islamic countries, do they treat all religions equally?
No, they
Are
don't.
all ideas equal?
What's the solution in this country? Stop all immigration?
For 2 years and then have an immigration policy debated. 75% of the American people want a moratorium on legal immigration, and they want your position on illegal. For 2 years we do that. Then we decide, at the same time we begin a process like we did in the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, mass assimilation, Americanization, teach everybody in the schools American history from the first day in first grade through high school.
So stop all the diversity business.
Get rid of the diversity, get rid of the bilingualism, immerse
But that's
kids
not really what freedom's all about, though.
Oh, what do you think when we came to this
country? No, if we
country?
want diversity, you should be able to have it in a free country.
Did we come to America and demand they teach Gaelic in the public schools of New York? Of course not. They taught English. That's what you learned.
All right, I don't mind that, but I don't know about the thought police. That's the only
What
problem.
is the thought police?
Well, we're going to have to run, but your book is very provocative. As always, everything you do is provocative, Mr. Buchanan. Good luck with it.
They
Thanks
say
for
the
coming
same
in.
about you, Bill.
All right. Next, manslaughter at a boys' hockey practice. The trial has begun. We'll have it for you when we come back.
David Lee Miller. Greg Malcott.
Amy Kellogg.
William Larson. Steve Harrigan. Fox News. International.
Hi, I'm Rick from Empire Glass. Let Empire Glass replace your cracked windshield and will now pay up to $100 of your comprehensive insurance deductible. And will now give you 24 free dinners to Sherry's, the Northwest's #1 family restaurant and bakery, with any windshield replacement. So for the highest in quality windshields, including up to $100 off your comprehensive deductible and 24 free dinners to Sherry's, call Empire Glass today at 251-9881. When you think glass, think Empire.
Hi, Ellie at City Liquiders, where our selection is huge and so is our inventory. Like this chest of drawers, $49. How about this curio, $59. Kids wardrobe, $99. We have a 3-piece set for $68. Swivel ladder rocker, $169 with ottoman. Parked bench, $39. Remember, you'll always save money at City Liquidators.
Jump on, my friend, the web never ends. Get on the surfboard. Motorola surfboard. Broadband's a blast. 'Cause it's streaming fast. Motorola surfboard.
Power surfing from your home.
Surfing while you're on the phone.
Always on, user-friendly. You surf around, it's really easy.
Motorola surfboard.
What a ride.
AT&T Broadband. Pay-per-view.
The toughest full-contact event in sports is back as the Ultimate Fighting Championship presents UFC Throwdown. 2 belts are on the line as Jens Pulver takes on BJ Penn and Dave Manet battles Murilo Bustamante. Plus, a full night of action in the Octagon. Let's get off!
UFC Throwdown, Friday, January 11th. Call AT&T Broadband now to order the brawl on in-demand pay-per-view.
Back in the book segment tonight, the sensational manslaughter trial of 42-year-old Thomas Junta is underway in Cambridge, Massachusetts. He allegedly beat another father to death at a hockey practice where the two got into an argument over their son's playing style. Joining us now from Boston is law professor Wendy Murphy. He's covering the trial for the local Fox affiliate. So I understand that there's a defense on Mr. Junta is going to be that the other man who's dead provoked this fight. Is that about it?
Well, yes, that's what we know thus far, although what an uphill battle that's likely to be, Bill. The perpetrator in this case, Mr. Junta, is about 270 pounds, the victim about 160 at the time he died. They were somewhat equal in height, but clearly different weights. And to prevail on a self-defense theory in this case, Mr. Junta is going to have to persuade the jury that he was in reasonable fear of his life at the time he pummeled the victim to his death. And I'm not sure that will sell well with this jury.
Especially since he came back. I mean, it was an initial fight, and then Junta left and then came back and the fight proceeded.
That's
How old are the boys involved? They each have a son involved, and that's what they were fighting over to begin with.
That's right. The boys at the time of the death were 10. They're about 12 now, and they are both expected to testify. It remains to be seen whether they will, in fact, take the stand. That's been a bit of a controversy here. Some folks thinking it's exploitive to put your child on the stand.
Well, you have to put them on a stand. I mean,
well, sure.
You know, exploitive or not, this is a justice system.
And harmful, that's right. No question. I think the prosecution, without doubt, will call some of the children to the stand. They were the best eyewitnesses to what happened.
Now, the guy who was killed was the hockey coach. He was the coach of the team, this guy Costin. And apparently, Junta objected to the roughness of the practice. Ironically, he didn't like his son being checked in the practice, correct?
That's right. That's how it all started. It wasn't even a formal game. It was a pickup game. A bunch of kids at the rink just decided to play together. There was some checking, and according to Mr. Junta, Mr. Costin was requested to do something about some of the checking that was going on, and he sort of shrugged and said, hey, it's just hockey. And that did make Mr. Junta angry. But as you said, Bill, there was a confrontation that ended when Mr. Junta was asked to leave. And he came back in literally barreling through the doors looking for Mr. Costin. And it was at that point that he killed him.
Yeah. And he killed him by banging his head against the concrete
That's right.
floor of the hockey rink.
And that's what most of the testimony was about today, from the medical examiner and the medical experts. For a big portion of the day today, we saw autopsy photographs that were utterly gruesome, and we heard about how severe the injuries were. He literally died not only from the slamming of his head against a concrete floor, but of such severe blows, punches to the side of his neck, that they perforated veins, and the vertebral area was perforated so that blood was just hemorrhaging everywhere. This was a very brutal attack.
Yeah, it was an out-of-control situation. Have the lawyers for Mr. Junta been successful in creating any sympathy for him at all? Because, you know, as a good defense attorney, you want to create public sympathy for your client and put forth, you know, have they been successful? Has any of the arguments they put up resonated at all?
Well, to the extent I can tell what public opinion is like around here, it does seem to be there's some sympathy for the defendant. I think people can identify a little bit with both sides. They understand that competitive sports among youth are increasingly pressurized. They understand when you're trying to protect your son from being checked and the adult who should be doing something about it doesn't, you get increasingly angry. I think people in general, parents like myself, can appreciate how rageful you feel. I have a 10-year-old daughter who plays soccer on a competitive team, and she was knocked over during a game recently, and I could feel my blood boiling. But there's a big difference between feeling your blood boiling, being a protective parent, and killing a man.
Was a boy hurt at all in the hockey practice or pickup game, Junta's kid?
No, Bill, I don't think
all right,
there was any serious injury.
There's no trauma or anything like that physically on the kid.
That's right.
The press in Boston is, particularly the Boston Globe, is notoriously liberal. They're very, very politically correct. Have they taken any kind of stance on this at all?
Hard to tell. You know, I think I know which newspaper you're talking about. I won't give it a title. There is a difference. We have two newspapers in Boston. There's a difference between them.
Yeah, the Herald is a conservative tab, and the Globe is the touchy-feely, politically correct. But the Globe is the one that carries the big cachet.
Well, the Globe is often very protective of the rights of the accused, no matter what the crime. And so they tend to put out the defense as being a little bit more valid than we might think it otherwise would be.
Are they doing that in this case?
Hard to say that they're doing it too much. I've read both papers today, and I didn't get a sense of too much sympathy. But, of course, they're talking about the fact that so many of us as parents can identify with both sides. And I think that's a theme that will resonate all the way through to the end.
All right. Well, I think he's going to get convicted. It'll be interesting what the sentence will be.
That is, I think that you're right. I think
that's the most interesting part.
Here,
Look,
right,
it's a foregone. The guy killed him. He's going to jail. It's just depends how much time he's going to do. Counselor, thanks very much. We appreciate it as always.
Pleasure.
Next, we'll wrap things up. The most ridiculous item of the day and some of your mail.
Walgreens has thousands of locations across America, from the corner of Elm in Maine to the corner of Montgomery and Pine, to our newest location, Walgreens.com. You can manage your health care on America's healthiest website, because America's favorite corner drugstore is now located on the corner of your desk. Register online or come into Walgreens Pharmacy and we'll do it for you. Walgreens.com. Another reason Walgreens is the pharmacy America trusts.
Fox Tuesday.
I may be close to finding your assassin.
24 returns with all new episodes.
If I don't deliver you in half an hour, you bury your daughter.
The most talked about show of the season is just getting started. Nominated for 2 Golden Globe Awards, including Best Drama.
Take her out and shoot her.
No. And Best Actor Kiefer Sutherland.
It's your choice, Nina, or your daughter.
24.
Please forgive me, Nina.
All new episodes begin Tuesday on Fox.
When apartheid stood in our path,
We overcame it to build our own future.
now AIDS threatens South Africa's future
Half of all children under 15 will die.
unless something is done.
So we are doing it. We call it Love Life.
It's about love.
It's about help. And it's about life.
You can help fight AIDS in South Africa. To find out how, go to netaid.org.
This weekend, new targets, new problems. Could we lose the war on terror? A frontline report. Then, clear or cloudy? A forecast by White House economic advisor Lawrence Lindsay. Plus, our intelligence community. How bad are things? Senator Bob Graham responds. That's this week on Fox News Sunday on the Fox News Channel. Saturday, the ground war, the elections, the economy. What's in store for 2002?
There are reasonable grounds to worry.
Special guest Newt Gingrich on Judith Regan tonight.
Time now for the most ridiculous item of the day. The local NPR radio outlet here in New York City is sponsoring a contest called the Anybody But Bill O'Reilly Literary Awards. Now, I love this. It drives these NPR people nuts that the No Spin Zone book is still #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. I mean, it makes them crazy. Over the past few months, radio outlets in every American city have invited me on their air, but not one invitation from any NPR station. Of course, it's ridiculous, but it's also instructive. The National Public Radio Organization does not, I repeat, does not believe in free speech, all right? NPR is a one-trick pony designed to further a politically correct agenda, and the tragedy is that some tax money is being used to help them do that. All things considered, NPR, my elbow. And finally tonight, the mail, anything but politically correct when it comes to Geraldo Rivera. Marshall White, San Jose, California. Bill, your chicken-livered acquiescence and misleading attempt to rehabilitate Geraldo disappoints me. His purported mistake defies a timeline, succumbing to pressure from management, Bill. Terry O'Brien, Chicago. O'Reilly, are you the same guy who wrote the No Spin Zone? Why did you fall for Geraldo's spin? All right, Mr. O'Brien and Mr. White. So what really did happen in Afghanistan with Mr. Rivera? Since you guys were obviously on the scene, you were there, and you know exactly what went down. Why don't you tell us how it all unfolded? Truth is, you can choose to believe Geraldo or not, but I wasn't there, and neither were you. So there's no definitive end to the controversy. I gave Mr. Rivera his say. To do otherwise would have been unfair. Michelle Levin, Baltimore. I read the report on Geraldo in the Baltimore Sun, and I think it's sour grapes. Steve Kirby, Pattaya, Thailand. I'm just an average guy watching the tube, and I don't believe a word Geraldo says. Ron Aguilar, Bremerton, Washington. First, we have some college students saying the war in Afghanistan is racist, and now the film Black Hawk Down gets the same charge. An enemy is an enemy, no matter what color. Joe Holman, Round Rock, Texas. I spent 6 months in Somalia as part of the humanitarian effort to feed the starving people there. The warlords and their henchmen were thugs and killers. I have no interest in seeing their point of view. Jack Lockhart, Irvine, California. I'm a 55-year-old African-American. I saw Black Hawk Down. Racism was not present in that movie. Specialist John Wollaston, Midland, Texas. As a member of the Army who served 2 tours in Somalia, I can tell you the Somalis are portrayed exactly as they behaved during Operation Restore Hope. Deborah Lineberger, Gold Hill, North Carolina. Bill, about the woman who lost her daughters when her ex-husband took them to Saudi Arabia. I have a hard time understanding how 2 American citizens can be kidnapped and our government cannot get them back. One of the most empowering things about being an American is knowing we will be protected. Don't count on that overseas, Ms. Lineberger. The Saudis do what they want, and our government cannot force them to act like civilized human beings. We have seen this time and time again. Once you leave the borders of the USA, your protection as an American dissolves. Stephen Rurell, Wilmington, North Carolina. Pat Roush's website is www.patroush.com. Bill, can't you put pressure on Washington to do something? We can ask Americans to get involved, Mr. Rurell, but it's up to Secretary of State Colin Powell to use his power, and we can't make him. And how about that website, huh? All kinds of neat stuff on there. My column is on the collapse of the Justice Department in the United States. That's for worldnetdaily.com, and you can access it. Now, a lot of people have been asking about our special on the Fox network, In Defense of America. You can purchase that special, all right? And I think it's on our website. If it's not, it's on a Fox News website. I know hundreds of you have already done that, so if you want to get that at home, In Defense of America, check out the website, all right? And also, how about emailing us with some very pithy comments? O'Reilly at foxnews.com, O'Reilly at foxnews.com. Name in town, name in town, name in town, if you wish to opine. That's it for us today. As always, we thank you for watching The Factor. I'm Bill O'Reilly. We hope to see you again next time.